Hollow Knight is one of the best 2D Metroidvanias I've ever played, and is arguably even better than the 2D Metroid titles. With the upcoming release of Silksong coming very soon, I thought I'd go back and revisit Hollow Knight just to familiarize myself with the game again, so I know what to semi-expect when I play Skong. Yes, that's an actual word, according to the Silksong subreddit. I decided to replay all the bosses again and give a quick take on how I feel about these bosses and put them into this tier list here. To save y'all's time and my time, I'm only going to be talking about these bosses as if they're being fought in the pantheon of Hollow Nest. So, Ascendant/Radiant stages for certain bosses, and if a boss has a stronger version, then that's the one I'm rating. Let's start off this list with Brooding Mawlek. Brooding Mawlek is okay. I neither like nor dislike the thing. It's fun dodging his claw and his raining blobs of infection when going for a no damage attempt. And I like how a bit chaotic it can be. My one big gripe with this boss is how sometimes when I dash through it to evade the eruption, the dash animation ends a little early and I touch the edge of this thing's body and take stupid damage for it. Overall, it's an okay boss. C tier. I usually don't like one versus many boss fights in gaming, especially in Hollow Knight, but Oro and Mato are one of the better 1v many bosses in the game. I like how Oro and Mato take turns to attack you, which keeps the fight balanced. I didn't know this before until I worked on this video. I found out that Mato has more health than Oro, which I thought was disproportionate. Oro has 600 health and Mato has 1000. But if you add the 500 health in Oro's first phase, he has a total of 1100. It's still uneven, but it's still fair. It's a fun fight still, and I love the battle cry they do at the start of the fight. B tier. I don't know how others are, but honestly I don't like a lot of the dream bosses in this game, and this guy is one of them. All this guy does is try to whomp you with hamburger buns. They're well telegraphed and easy to dodge, and that's all I have to say. He's really easy, especially on Radiant difficulty. D tier. This boss is just the Crystal Guardian, but it does double damage and is the epitome of harder difficulties in games where the only changes in a harder difficulty is that the enemies do more damage and sponge more damage. I love the 2D Metroid games, but I know they're guilty of this. Enraged Guardian is okay. I don't dislike him, but it could have been better if they just gave it a few more attacks to deal with. C tier. I love it when games amp up a beginning boss that's weak at first and cranks them up to at least an 8 out of 10 on the difficulty scale later. The Failed Champion is a great example of this. He's much more aggressive and I love it. What keeps him from being S tier for me is that you can farm souls from him by attacking his armor each time you dream nail him when his face is exposed. It's really cheesy and it kind of dumbs down the difficulty of this fight. It makes the rest of the fight easy when you can spam Shade Soul at him and repeat the farm strat again. If it wasn't for this weakness, he would have been S tier for me, but A tier is still pretty good too. This thing is super easy and it's disgusting. It can't do anything on its own. That's why it has to summon 2 fluke fees at a time that does all the attacking, and yes, that's what they're called. There's not much to say about this thing. The dream bosses like Galien, Gorb, and Xero can go into C tier. They're not difficult, but I don't enjoy fighting them either, especially Galien, whose sides are a clusterfuck to deal with. At least they're not as bad as another dream boss that I will talk about much later in this video, who I consider the hardest dream boss. I don't know why she's called the God Tamer. Someone that's knowledgeable on Hollow Knight lore is gonna have to explain that to me. This fight feels like a tamed version of the Oro and Mato fight I mentioned earlier. Unlike Oro and Mato, the Beast and the Tamer don't take turns attacking you. Honestly, I'm more worried about the Beast than the Tamer since the latter only has one attack that comes out very slowly, while the former's spit attacks cover a large section of the arena. Also, you only have to kill the Beast to win this fight. The Tamer doesn't live up to the hype of her name, sadly. I think this fight would have been better if you fought the Tamer while she's riding on her beast. She can charge with her beast like Commander Gaius from Elden Ring's DLC. she can command her beast to spit acid at you, and she can still use her lance to joust you. This would make her a more intimidating boss, uplifting her aura, and would have made her a B or A tier for me, but with how pitiful this fight is, this gets a C. Sly is a great example of a short king. A lot of his attacks have long reach, which makes up for his small stature. He doesn't look intimidating at first until he pulls out that giant nail and does all those fancy tricks. He has all of our nail arts, by the way, and I love the sounds he makes when we fight him. It's really cute, not gonna lie. I especially love the last phase when he goes bananas all over the arena and sounds like a monkey doing so. I don't have any complaints with this guy. I don't understand how Zote is a hard boss. And by that I mean he's fat, he's clumsy, and has a big ego. When I describe him that way, he doesn't seem intimidating at first, but it's a whole different story when you fight him. He's a great example of, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's working. He likes to switch up his attacks often, which can mess with your reactions. For example, he'll initially run around waving his wand around, but he'll actually thud on the ground, creating a shockwave that can trip you up. I really hate the explosive Zotelings because they limit my movement, and Zote can take advantage of this limitation by charging at you, or have his flying Zotelings touch you instead. I also dislike how every time I load into his boss fight during Pantheon of Hollowness, I always start the fight off with low HP because the previous boss, who was that hardest dream boss I mentioned earlier. But yeah, Zote is a complete idiot, yet he's still a tough fight. Not gonna lie, that's a genius concept by Team Cherry if you ask me. Zote is a boss that teaches the player not to underestimate your ops, no matter how dumb or smart they may be. Honestly, I think the real boss of this fight is the stage itself. Dashing too far or too little here can make you fall into this pit of spikes. Without the spikes, Gruz Mother would be too easy. So the real challenge of this boss is knowing how to position yourself in the arena. It's an okay fight for a first boss in the game. This boss is okay. I really like the boss theme, and it's satisfying to hit the spikes that shoots the projectiles. His attack when he vomits bees and the bees are flying down is really annoying though, and I wish you could kill those bees, which the game doesn't let you do for some reason. Instead, you're forced to dodge the bees and the Hive Knight, which is usually hard to do unscathed. That's why on no damage attempts, I always try to finish him as quickly as possible before he can summon the bees the first time he does it. This way, dodging the bees is much more manageable. I like Hornet as a character. Everyone, including myself, loves the quotes she makes, like Shaw and Adino, but what makes this boss really good is how fast-paced this fight is. You have to react a lot, and you have to react fast. Her attacks give you a lot of decisions on how to react to the attacks, like you can dodge her nail when she throws it, or you can attack her while she's still before her nail comes back to her. The latter is a high-risk, high-reward move, but it's satisfying if you can get it off. When she gets stunned for a moment, you can attack her to keep the fight going, or you can use this time to heal up. The choice is yours, which is a reward in itself. I also like the concept of this boss, as she's meant to test you if you're ready for what the rest of the main story has to throw at you. I can't wait for Silksong and being able to play as her. Based on the Silksong trailers, it seems she'll be more dynamic than the Knight. For the first time, this is a boss that deserves S tier. The Lost Kin's attacks are really fun to dodge. My favorite is when he lunges at you vertically across the arena. The staggers and knockbacks when he gets hit are very satisfying because it makes your attacks feel more impactful. I like how this boss encourages you to use your spells a lot. I like to use Descending Dark when he does the leap and summons blobs from the ground to give me iframes and to destroy the infection ghost. The fight is fast paced, though probably not to the same degree as Hornet Sentinel, but it's still a great fight. Oh god, this asshole. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the hardest dream boss in the game. If you watch any video on Markoth and why he's so hard, then you know what my opinion on this asshole is, so I'm not going to reiterate what's already been said. I would like to add that whenever I fight this guy in Pantheon of Hollowness, this guy forces me to change my charms to a playstyle that I'm not accustomed to. My charms I like to use are the Quick Slash, Mark of Pride, Soul Catcher, and Unbreakable Strength. So I like to rely on my nail a lot and don't use spells frequently. But during Pantheon of Hollowness, before Soul Tyrant, I have to replace Quick Slash with Shaman Stone to deal more spell damage. If you watch any strategy guide on how to beat Markoth on Ascended, they say to save your souls for the second phase, which you can spam Shade Soul or Abyss Shriek to end this stupid fight faster. The problem with this build is that it carries over to the other bosses in the gauntlet, and it's suboptimal for me to fight them in. Due to the lack of Quick Slash, I'm forced to take the fight slower, especially against Zote, who's already spongy as hell, and I can't end the phases against Failed Champion fast enough before it gets hectic as hell. I hate this guy for forcing me to play so restrictively that I play sub-optimally against the other bosses before Pure Vessel. Into D tier he goes. Marmu is a really cute boss, especially the sounds he makes. I don't know how others think, but I do enjoy this fight, even if it's a super easy fight. Playing tennis with him as the tennis ball is a cute concept. Moss Charger and Soul Warrior don't even feel like bosses. I feel like they were made to be filler, and they shouldn't be in the pantheons. This is one of my favorite bosses in the game. It has everything I want in a boss fight. Fast pace, challenge, and he's aggressive as hell. My favorite attack is when he summons the fire bats, which you can dash through after the second bat is released and whack him. I love NK Grimm's design. It exudes regality, and the use of the color red accentuates how much more aggressive he is, like he's out for blood compared to the non-dream version. Dodging his attacks feels like a dance, which complements his theme, which is also one of my favorite OSTs in the game. NK Grimm feels like he's the Slave Knight Gale from Dark Souls 3 and Hollow Knight, if you know what I mean. They're both DLC bosses and are one of the best bosses in their respective games. I would not change anything about NK Grimm. He's perfect. No Eyes is no fun. She's just like Gruz Mother, but worse. You not only have to avoid the spikes, but also avoid the spirits floating around the arena. Most of this fight is just trying to get to her while avoiding the spirits, and when you do get to her, she can just randomly teleport to somewhere else where you might not have a good spot to hit her. Yeah, this boss should just be called no fun. This is another 1v2 situation that I don't like as well. I hate how whenever you kill one of these things, the last one standing regains more health and becomes frenzier, releasing projectiles faster than you can dodge. I think Sheo is an underrated boss. Having each color paint do different attacks is creative, and I didn't mean that as a joke, by the way, since he is a painter. It took me a while to recognize what each color does when I first played this boss, but the more I play, the more easier it became to no damage him. I do find Sheo to be easier than Oro and Mato, despite being ranked higher in the Pantheon of Hollowness. Like I said, he's very underrated. Just like NK Grimm, Pure Vessel is one of my favorites. He's tied with NK Grimm as being my most favorite boss. I thought the Hollow Knight in the base game was too easy, especially for an endgame boss, but Pure Vessel is a much needed upgrade. I love that he unleashes more attacks as his health gets lower. I don't have a favorite attack because they're all well telegraphed and look amazing, and they're all really badass. Just like NK Grimm, his design exudes regality. The OST is also one of my favorites. I remember struggling against this guy when I first played this boss, but getting good over time for a boss that's well designed mechanically is so satisfying. Not gonna lie, I'd be okay if this was the final boss in the game, but it is what it is. Just like NK Grimm, he's perfect as well. This is also an excellent boss. The pacing of this fight is amazing if you can keep up with it. The actual challenge here is not just having fast reactions, but also knowing how to position yourself. I like it whenever I know I'm cornered into touching them. I can use Descending Dark to give myself iframes to get myself quickly out of a rock in a hard place. I like being able to pogo off the flying disc as another method to dodge their attacks. For this boss here, you constantly need to attack. You never have time to heal, which I don't think is necessary. This, in my opinion, is the best one versus many boss encounter in the game. My take on Soul Tyrant is about the same as Enraged Guardian. He's just the Soul Master, but is more faster in his attacks. He's alright though. I don't like that he constantly teleports, which ruins the pacing. I also don't like how narrow the timing to dodge his dives are during the second phase, which causes me to dash a second earlier before the slam gets telegraphed. But he's still a fun boss though, kinda underrated as well. This boss gimmick is that you don't generate soul when you attack him, unlike the others. You can only generate soul when he drops jars from the ceiling containing enemies, and you need to kill them immediately once they drop on the ground, or else the fight will get chaotic. Other than that, he himself doesn't do much. He's really creepy though, and it feels great to put him down, but honestly the fight itself isn't that fun. This boss is all about having very precise reactions to his attacks, or else you take double damage. If he's about to lunge forward, you shadow dash through it. If he's in the air about to dive, you just walk forward in the opposite direction, which I think is kind of funny, and you shadow dash through the shockwaves when he unleashes them. He's alright. He goes down very quick if you know what you're doing. I don't think having more health would have made this boss any better. I don't think anyone likes this boss, and it's easy to see why if you played against it. The only way to damage this thing is by using these exploding jellyfish to damage its outer membrane, but you have to hit the jellyfish in a way that it launches towards Uumuu, otherwise it will come back to bite you in the ass. I hate how movement here is so restricted. It chases you down with electricity and can fill the room with bursts of lightning, all the while trying to get in position to smack the jellyfish. It's a clusterfuck. It's pretty obvious where this thing is going. This boss just feels like I'm fighting two regular enemies. Fighting both of them is such an artificial way to make them harder, especially since their attacks don't complement each other. This is the last one versus many situation I'm gonna talk about, thank God. The Watcher Knights are pretty good. I love the sound the game makes when hitting these guys. The real challenge of this fight is knowing how to manage your position around them, since you'll be dodging their attacks constantly, and they can easily corner you. It's best to fight each of them one at a time, but the other will try to gank you, so you're just gonna have to adapt. It's oddly satisfying to see the corpses of all the Watchers I've killed, and I'm glad that my last talk about a one versus many boss are the Watcher Knights. Just like Failed Champion, White Defender is the upgrade to the Dung Defender that I really enjoy. Whenever he rolls into a ball and bounces everywhere, you can play volleyball with him and attack him while he's in the air. He'll always stay in the state as long as he doesn't touch the ground. I'm not sure, but I think you can straight up defeat him this way without seeing him bellow during his second phase. I'm not sure. Someone's gonna have to tell me if I'm wrong. Unlike Dung Defender, whenever he's digging underground, you can't force him out of there with Descending Dart, which I think is a great change, allowing me to see the full extent of his potential. If there's one gripe I have with this boss, it's that whenever he throws 3 balls of dirt, I like to wail on him with my quick slash boosted nail, but I have to be careful not to get too close to him, or the dirt will hit me. This is more of a skill issue on my end, but I just don't like having to stand a certain distance away from him. Overall though, he's a fun boss and I love his jovial personality. I think other players have ranked Winged Nosk pretty low on their list, but for me, I don't think it's that bad. I get why others say it sucks because it's essentially a reskinned Vengefly. I don't like how you're forced to let it attack you in order to get hits in, so you have to play passively, just like Vengefly. The reason why I do like this boss is because of the creepy vibes from it. When you enter the arena, you think it's Hornet, but a new body sprouts from underneath it, and that detail of Hornet's eyes getting wider as a new body emerges is quite horrifying. It's also bizarre seeing an upside-down Hornet head be the face of this winged beast. Also, its OST is one of my favorites in the game as well. So while the fight itself is dull, it's carried by the vibes in the soundtrack. Now we have the final boss of the game. This is a stellar final boss. It has everything you expect from a final boss, and it's everything that made the Radiance great and cranks it up to an 11 out of 10. The last phase where you're ascending the platforms while avoiding the laser beam is cinematic as hell. The reason why I don't say it's one of my favorites is how random it can be. This is more of a skill issue on my end, but I always replace the quick slash charm for quick focus so I can get in my heals faster. I'm always finding myself constantly needing to heal, especially before the last phase, which can be very hectic. In the end though, this is a perfect send-off to Hollow Knight as a whole, and I look forward to another adventure in Silksong. And that's all of my quick takes on the bosses of Hollow Knight. So, do you agree or disagree with my opinions? Who's your favorite boss in Hollow Knight? Did you enjoy the video? Let me know in the comments and have a nice day.